Los Angeles Lakers fans, there's a lot to talk about right now, and the latest results around the league may have just given the purple and gold a huge opportunity as the season continues to heat up. Over the last few hours, several games across the conference ended in ways that could seriously impact the standings. And if you are following the race in the Western Conference closely, you already know that every single result matters at this stage of the season. One of the biggest developments came from a game that did not even involve the Lakers directly, but still ended up helping them. The Houston Rockets were completely overwhelmed in their matchup against the Denver Nuggets, suffering a blowout that quickly got out of hand. It was one of those games where the momentum shifted early and never really came back. Denver controlled the pace, executed on both ends of the floor, and Houston simply could not find any rhythm to respond. Games like that happen during a long season, but the result raises some familiar questions about Houston and whether they truly have what it takes to remain consistent when the pressure starts to rise. Throughout the season, there have been debates about where the Rockets truly stand in the hierarchy of contenders in the West. They have talent, they have explosive scoring, and on certain nights, they can look like a team capable of beating anyone. But the issue that continues to surface is consistency. When the offense becomes too dependent on one primary scoring option, the entire structure can become predictable. When that happens, opposing defenses start to adjust, and suddenly the flow disappears. That is exactly the type of situation that tends to become even more problematic when the playoffs arrive, because postseason basketball is all about adjustments and depth in offensive creation. Of course, blowouts are part of the league. Every team experiences them at some point during the season. There are always nights where one squad catches fire while the other simply cannot get anything going. We have seen surprising results across the league this year, where teams that normally struggle suddenly explode for a massive victory against a contender. But when the same patterns repeat themselves multiple times, analysts and fans begin to look deeper at the roster construction and the offensive balance. While Houston dealt with that rough night, another result also caught the attention of Lakers fans. The Minnesota Timberwolves suffered another loss, this time falling to the Los Angeles Clippers in a high-scoring game that quickly turned into an offensive showcase. The Clippers were firing on all cylinders, pushing the pace and converting opportunities with incredible efficiency. When a team drops more than 150 points in a game, it usually means the offense was flowing at an elite level and nearly every possession felt dangerous for the opponent. For the Lakers, results like these matter a lot because the standings in the Western Conference are extremely tight. Just a few games separate several teams fighting for positioning near the top of the playoff bracket. With Minnesota slipping and Houston taking a heavy loss, the door opens a little wider for Los Angeles to strengthen its position and potentially climb even higher in the standings. Right now, the Lakers find themselves in a very interesting situation. The team is sitting with 40 wins and 25 losses, right alongside Houston in the standings. When records are that close, every matchup suddenly carries enormous weight, especially when teams are competing directly against one another for playoff seeding. And that is exactly what makes the upcoming stretch so important for Los Angeles. The Lakers still have head-to-head games coming up against the Rockets, and those matchups could end up determining who gains the upper hand in the race. Houston won the previous meeting earlier in the season, which means Los Angeles will need to respond when the teams face each other again. Ideally, the Lakers would take both games to completely flip the narrative and secure the tiebreaker advantage. Winning both would create a powerful shift in the standings and could push the team closer to that coveted third seed in the conference. Even splitting the series could still keep things competitive, but the margin for error becomes smaller when every team around you is fighting for the same goal. That is why every upcoming game carries so much importance, starting with the next matchup on the schedule against the Chicago Bulls. On paper, it might look like a standard regular season game, but in the context of the playoff race, it is far more significant than that. If the Lakers take care of business against Chicago, they could gain valuable ground while other contenders battle each other. The timing of the schedule creates a scenario where multiple results could align in Los Angeles' favor. For example, if the San Antonio Spurs manage to defeat Denver in their own matchup, the standings would tighten even further and give the Lakers an additional advantage heading into their next major challenge. That challenge, of course, comes against the Denver Nuggets, a team that has been one of the toughest opponents in the conference. Games against Denver always bring a different level of intensity because both teams understand the implications. A victory in that matchup would not only add another win to the Lakers' record, but could also create real separation between them and one of their direct rivals in the standings. At this stage of the season, creating that kind of cushion can make a massive difference. When teams begin to stack a few extra wins ahead of their competitors, the pressure shifts. Suddenly, the chasing teams are forced to take more risks, while the team with the advantage can focus on maintaining consistency and controlling its own destiny. For the Lakers, that opportunity is right in front of them if they can execute during this upcoming stretch of games. Looking further down the standings, the Timberwolves are now sitting with the same record as the Lakers after their recent loss. However, Los Angeles currently holds the tiebreaker advantage, which becomes incredibly valuable if both teams finish the season with identical records. In scenarios like that, a single earlier victory can determine who receives home court advantage and who drops a position in the playoff bracket. That is why maintaining pace is just as important as winning the big head-to-head matchups. Every game against teams lower in the standings still counts the same in the final record, and those are often the games that contenders cannot afford to lose. The Lakers have improved in that area this season, showing more discipline in games where they are expected to win, but the challenge remains to keep that focus until the very end of the schedule. The Western Conference race continues to shift almost every night, and with several teams clustered within just a few games of each other, the next stretch of matchups could dramatically reshape the playoff picture. For the Lakers, the path is becoming clearer. When the games that are in front of you, take advantage of the opportunities created by other teams' losses and keep building momentum as the postseason approaches. As the Lakers prepare for the next few games, the biggest theme surrounding the team right now is control. At this point in the season, very few teams can honestly say that their destiny is fully in their own hands, but Los Angeles is getting closer to that position. If they continue to handle the games they are supposed to win and take advantage of the direct matchups against teams competing for the same playoff spots, the standings could begin to shift in their favor in a very real way. That upcoming clash with Denver looms especially large because it has the potential to reshape the entire conversation around the Western Conference race. The Nuggets have been one of the most respected teams in the league for a reason. Their style of play is disciplined, efficient, and built around a system that punishes mistakes. Facing a team like that requires complete focus for all 48 minutes, because even small defensive breakdowns can quickly turn into scoring runs that are difficult to stop. But the opportunity in that game goes far beyond simply adding another win to the record. If the Lakers manage to defeat Chicago and then follow that up with a victory against Denver, the impact in the standings could be massive. Suddenly, the gap between Los Angeles and one of their main competitors would begin to widen. And in a conference where positioning can change overnight, that kind of breathing room is incredibly valuable. Imagine the scenario where Denver drops another game before facing the Lakers. In that case, Los Angeles would enter that matchup with the chance to build a multiple-game cushion in the loss column. That kind of advantage changes the entire dynamic of the race. Instead of constantly looking over their shoulders, the Lakers could focus on maintaining their rhythm and protecting their position as the regular season moves closer to its final stretch. Another key factor in this moment of the season is health. Every contender is dealing with injuries, fatigue, and players trying to push through the grind of a long schedule. The Lakers are no exception to that reality. There is a real possibility that several rotation players might be unavailable for certain games, and that forces the coaching staff to make adjustments on the fly. Missing even 2 or 3 regular contributors can significantly change the rotation and the overall strategy on the court. Depth becomes crucial in those moments. Players who normally see limited minutes suddenly have to step into larger roles, and the team's success often depends on how well those players respond to the challenge. Some nights, that leads to unexpected performances where a role player rises to the occasion and delivers a huge contribution. There's also the possibility that the Lakers may have to navigate games without some of their most important names on the floor. When that happens, the rest of the roster has to elevate its level of intensity. Defensive communication becomes even more critical. Ball movement needs to stay sharp, and the team has to find creative ways to generate offense without relying on the usual stars. The matchup against Chicago is a perfect example of the type of game that can be tricky if the focus is not there. On paper, the Lakers may look like the stronger team, but the Bulls have always been capable of pulling off surprise performances. For some reason, throughout different seasons, Chicago has occasionally been one of those opponents that can catch Los Angeles off guard if the energy is not right from the opening tip. That is why the approach to this game needs to be serious from the beginning. Contending teams understand that games against mid-table opponents can sometimes be the most dangerous because they tend to become emotional battles rather than purely tactical ones. If the Lakers establish their rhythm early, control the pace, and defend with discipline, they should be able to secure the result they need. Another interesting detail about the Lakers this season is the contrast between their performances at home and on the road. Earlier in the year, the team struggled to build consistent momentum when playing in front of their own fans. There were stretches where victories at home felt harder to come by than expected. Recently, however, that narrative has started to shift. During the current stretch of games, the Lakers have begun to look far more comfortable on their home floor. The energy in the arena has been stronger, the defense has been more aggressive, and the overall execution has improved. When a team begins to rediscover its confidence at home, it often creates a ripple effect that carries into the rest of the schedule. Right now, Los Angeles is in the middle of a homestand that could play a huge role in shaping the remainder of their season. Taking advantage of these games is essential because every win collected here adds pressure to the teams chasing them in the standings. Momentum is a powerful force in the league, and when a team begins to stack victories in front of its own crowd, that confidence can become contagious. Looking at the broader picture of the Western Conference, it is clear that only a few teams have maintained true consistency from the beginning of the season until now. Several franchises that started hot have cooled off, while others that struggled early have found new life as the months passed. That constant fluctuation is exactly what has kept the standings so tight. Through all the ups and downs, the Lakers have managed to remain right in the middle of the race. Despite injuries, roster adjustments, and periods of inconsistency, they have continued to collect enough wins to stay within striking distance of the top seeds. That resilience is something that often defines teams capable of making deep playoff runs. There's also a unique spotlight that follows this franchise everywhere it goes. When the Lakers win, the discussion spreads quickly across the basketball world. When they lose, the reactions become even louder. Few teams in professional sports live under that kind of constant attention, and it creates an environment where every performance is examined from every possible angle. Before we continue, we ask that you leave a like and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss any exclusive Lakers updates. Moving on, whispers around the league suggest that LUKA may not be the only pillar in the Los Angeles Lakers' long-term vision. Behind closed doors, according to sources circulating within NBA circles, there's a growing movement inside the organization aimed at keeping LeBron James tied to the franchise longer than many expected. The idea, gaining traction in the corridors of the arena, is simple. If LUKA represents the future, LeBron could still be a crucial bridge between eras. Doncic, the Slovenian guard forward known for his creativity and control of the game, arrived with the aura of a generational playmaker. Selected with the third overall pick in the 2018 NBA draft by the Atlanta Hawks before being traded to the Dallas Mavericks in exchange for Trae Young, LUKA built a reputation as one of basketball's most versatile offensive engines. Now, wearing purple and gold, his presence has sparked speculation about the Lakers' next chapter. But insiders claim the story unfolding in Los Angeles may be less about transition and more about coexistence. Rather than a symbolic passing of the torch, some voices within the organization reportedly believe the ideal scenario involves Doncic growing alongside LeBron rather than replacing him. The reasoning is strategic. Even deep into his career, LeBron remains one of the league's most influential figures both on and off the court. His leadership, experience, and ability to elevate teammates are viewed internally as assets that could accelerate LUKA's integration into the team's culture while keeping the franchise firmly in championship conversations. Rumors also hint that discussions about roster stability and leadership dynamics have quietly intensified. The front office, according to speculation, understands that pairing LUKA's creative brilliance with LeBron's basketball IQ could form one of the most intriguing partnerships the league has seen in years. For now, nothing has been confirmed publicly, yet the chatter continues to grow louder. Luka Doncic may be the Lakers' future, but the organization might be working just as hard to ensure that LeBron James remains part of the present. In Los Angeles, the possibility of two basketball masterminds sharing the same stage is a storyline that refuses to fade. Stay informed exclusively about Los Angeles Lakers news. Subscribe to our channel and hit the like button to keep receiving daily updates. Also, share your opinion on the news in the comments, as your contribution is crucial for the Lakers. Stay tuned for the next video.